Mr. Hubbard. Here. Mr.
We have two here. This one first, it should be shorter. So most of the board here will criticize. The first two we have are ZON-26-03, decisive dynamics will be first, and ZON-26-04, Creekside, all of you are here for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McNulty. So we will start off with rezoning case ZON-26-03. The applicant is Decisive Dynamics for the property owned by JLP Orange, 8425 Orange Center Drive. Several parcels in there, but for reference, we were talking about the BJ's Wholesale Club property located just off US 23. Total acreage is 28.051 acres. Current zoning is plain commercial. The request is to amend the currently effective plain commercial and office district to allow for redesign of the out parcels, not all parcels, pardon the typo there, and to allow for additional signage on the site. So the subject site was rezoned in 2022 to a plain commercial district to allow for one large anchor tenant, 3 outlaw commercial buildings, 1 fueling center, 8 multi-family residential buildings, 1 clubhouse. The anchor tenant and fuel center have been constructed and are in operation today, but multi-family and outlots have not yet been developed. In terms of surrounding area, to the north is also planned commercial and office district on the US 23 frontage, as well as multi-family planned residential district on the Hidden Creeks condos there. To the south is also planned commercial and office, the Walmart North Point development. To the west is US 23, another planned commercial development across the street. To the east is Highfield Drive, as well as some planned industrial properties. In terms of the comprehensive land use plan, parcel in question is found in subarea 5. Recommendation 5-5 states to maintain utilization of the frontage outlots to mass parking, to larger uses to rear, or to limit parking in the frontage building to a single drive aisle between it and US 23 right of way if outlots are not feasible. You can see the aerial image of the parcels on the screen there. So that's the site as it exists today. And then the site plan provided by the applicant. So you can see the BJ's Wholesale Clubs on the right side of the screen. The commercial outlots that we're discussing are highlighted there in blue. So the initial planned commercial development plan, as approved, established site plans, landscaping plans, lighting plans, and building design for those 3 outlots on the property. The applicant is proposing to remove the established plans from the development plan and having any future buildings follow the established development text of the plain commercial district. With the exception of parking counts, all development standards would remain the same. It would just be removing the building designs which were submitted as pre-approved and basically allowing them to be flexible so that they could be redesigned at the time of permit. There is one change. The number of required parking spots for restaurant and retail uses would be updated to match the current standards of the Orange Township zoning resolution. They were different at the time that this was initially approved in 2022. So the new parking count for the out parcels would be 1 parking space required for every 400 feet of gross building area. Staff does not have concerns with the administrative process outlined above, although it should be noted that since the PC district refers to the prior standards of presenting resolution, there would be no standards for the commercial architecture or landscaping. Lighting would be included in the planned commercial district, but the architecture and landscaping would not be governed by the planned commercial district. The other aspect of the amendment application is for signage, so bear with me as I think there's some diagrams that show this maybe a little bit better than what my text allows. But there's currently 1 monument sign existing on the site, which advertises BJ's Wholesale Club and the fuel station. An emergence was granted at the time of rezoning in 2022 for that sign to be 10 feet in height instead of the standard of 8 feet. 3 additional monument signs were approved at the time of rezoning for the 3 outlot parcels, but those signs have not been built since the outlots have not been developed. A divergence was granted at that time to allow multiple monument signs on the property. In May of 2024, the Orange Township Board of Appeals approved variances for 2 directional signs on the site, allowing them to be 15 square feet in area and 6 feet in height. The applicant is proposing to alter the permitted signage on the site to allow for 2 new monument signs, meaning that the current monument sign would be removed and the 3 proposed standalone outlot monument signs would be removed from the plan. So there's 1 existing, 3 proposed as it is currently. The revised plan would have 2 in total, which would have 2 removing the 1 that is existing today. 1 monument sign labeled as MS2 in the plans would be located along the frontage of US 23 in a similar location to the currently existing monument sign, with encompass signage with 3 outlot parcels, as well as BJ's and the fuel station. That sign is proposed to be 20 feet in height, which would be a divergence from the zoning resolution, because again, the maximum permitted height for monument signs is 8 feet. It remained 8 feet throughout the rewrite of our zoning resolution. So it was 8 feet before, remains 8 feet. We do know that the previous divergence, again, was granted for the existing sign, which is 10 feet. The display area of the large monument sign would be 144 square feet, which would also be a divergence from the zoning code. Maximum square footage of a monument sign would be 75 feet per code. The second monument sign, labeled as MS1 in the plan, to be placed near the entrance on Highfield Drive on the east side of the property. That sign would be proposed to be 12 feet in height. Again, divergence, maximum permitted height would be 8 feet per code. The display area of that sign would be 100 square feet. Again, divergence, maximum is 75 feet. And then a divergence would also be required for the electronic display for the fuel prices on each sign. We do note that the previous divergence was granted in 2022 for electronic display of fuel prices on the fuel station canopy itself, but not the freestanding monument signs. 1 more sign is proposed, a new directional sign, which is proposed to be added along the Orange Center Drive frontage. That sign is proposed to be 7 feet in height, with a total display area of 32 feet. We do note that directional signs are currently not a category within the zoning resolution, although we may look to update that with future zoning amendments. While the sign may not technically require a divergence, it is significantly larger than previous directional signs. You can see on the screen there, so we have this graphic in a larger form that we can put up there in a minute. So the sign on the left is the currently existing monument sign, 10 feet in height. Then the 2 on the center and right would be new construction. So the one in the center would be located along Orange Center Drive. That's 12 feet in height. And then MS2 on the right would be new construction, which would be proposed to be along US 23, 20 feet high. So total of 3 divergences for the sign heights to allow for the monument signs to have larger display area, and then to permit the electronic display of fuel prices on the sign. Because this is an amendment to an existing plan district, Delaware County Regional Planning Commission is not required or requested to review this application. So this is the first and only hearing for this at the zoning commission level. This would then proceed to the township trustees for their. That's all I have for the moment. With the applicants here, commission has any questions.
Would you like to make a presentation for what your changes are?
Yeah, is this work?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to come in and speak to you today about this development. This is something that, as was mentioned, thank you for the staff's report, that has been in development for a number of years of trying to be able to get anchor tenants and involved, which thankfully BJ's was able to come in and be able to utilize this land. But there are some faces here that are new from when we came in a number of years ago. And I think it would be beneficial to be able to just kind of talk through a little bit about some of the hurdles that happened during that time. Specifically, this land has sat vacant for decades. And it was some of the last land that was located in that area, although it was pretty primed for development for the commercial corridors that were located around. You had Walmart and Giant Eagle, and you had Meyer, which has now been redeveloped over to Florida Core. So there's a lot of other out parcels in that area, lots of commercial development, but this land sat vacant, and there's two reasons for that. The primary reason is because of access. And if you know anything about this property, there is two ways to get in. There's from the north or from US 23. And US 23 is a right in, right out. With that being said, back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was an agreement between the developers for the Walmart property and the individuals who own this property that would allow an access from the BJ site over into Walmart to utilize that signalized intersection. And in fact, not only was that agreement in place, but you'll notice that the buildings in that location have a separation there to accommodate that access and that easement. There used to be a curb cut in there as well. And so thankfully, the individuals were able to make a deal to be able to start this development with the understanding that they would still get access to that signalized intersection. And that individual, we proceeded, they developed, and that there ended up being a lawsuit between those two property owners. And as you can know now, there is no access there. There's bollards with signs that prevent that. So with that being said, BJ's, who is a very good family-friendly store, they are really catered towards the family. They are not a Costco. They don't want to be a Costco. They want to be something different. They have tried to come in and market heavily, but they're underperforming. And one of the major reasons why they're underperforming is access. That in order to be able to get into the site, you either have to be going north and utilize the right and right out, or go all the way to the intersection with the light on Orange Township and come back in. So not only is it confusing to get there, but it's also confusing if you want to go south on 23. It's unintuitive that you have to go north, go to the light on Orange, that to go south on 23. That was never the case. That was never anticipated. So unfortunately, I do believe, and the financials are there, that BJ's has suffered, that their parking lot is not as full or packed as it should be. And that has been an impact. And so they are looking at opportunities as to how they can be able to come and approach you to be able to see what we can do for the site, what we can be able to talk through with our zoning, and be able to understand a little bit more as to what could potentially help them to be able to be successful so that they can continue to stay there. And we don't have another empty building on our hands. So with that being said, the parking that they're requesting for the out parcel when this was done through a mixed use overlay. There was the overlay district that happened that I believe it is, I'm not sure if it's still in effect. No, it has since gone away. So that shoehorned and made this commercial property that was always dedicated to be commercial and forced it to be mixed use. And so that's another reason why it hasn't been developed the way it has been, is that there is a multifamily component on there. The developers have neglected to do that at this time because they don't feel it's in the best interest of the township. But with that being said, respectfully, they went through and proceeded with zoning to be able to help and get everything approved appropriately. And at the time, the parking for the commercial developments and out parcels were something where it was a little bit more of an archaic calculation. Since post-COVID, as you may know, a lot of the restaurants have gone to mobile ordering or mobile pickup, and a lot have gone through drive-throughs now, or just pickup, where you don't even order, you just pick up through the drive-through. Our phones post-COVID have really changed things from a socially distant standpoint, and that's changed the whole industry. And with that, they at this point in time, we believe, based upon the previous code for those parking, they're over parked, and it would allow some greater flexibility for those out parcels to be able to be developed, to bring in some new individuals who are not here currently in Orange Township to be able to help the community if we're able to change it. And one of the changes that we're asking for that parking is to go to your current code. It's just to be able to reduce that to current code so that it allows the flexibility. That is another thing that we believe that's also going to help drive the success of BJ's long-term as well, is the individuals who are going to be wanting to utilize those out parcels may also want to utilize the anchor tenant as well, just with intuitive shopping. And so the other thing is that we did request originally, when it comes to signage, a variety of things. We did request a large pylon sign in full disclosure, a much larger one than we're requesting now originally. I believe it was like 28 feet. It was going to be very comparable to Walmart's right next door. We thought that would be fair. And there was some reasons and logic behind that. One in particular that's a little bit more challenging from an engineering standpoint to kind of put on paper is that if you're traveling down the road at a particular speed, you only have a certain time where your eye is going to be able to catch square footage. And so, that square footage that your eye catches is seconds. And the larger the sign, the more seconds you're going to be able to catch it. And so that's another reason why they want to be able to increase that sign, is to be able to capture visibility from the individuals going down US 23. Is to help BJs be able to capture the visibility and capture attention. With that being said, we negotiated at the time several years ago to be able to reduce the square footage, reduce the size. It still was a divergence at the time, but it was very, very nominal, negligible divergence. With that though, there was also going to be 3 out parcels in conjunction with the pylon sign. So there's going to be 4 pylons that were going to be about 200 feet apart from each other right along that stretch. That was approved. One of the things that we are requesting now is to combine all those, and as was described, we're asking for all of those signs to be combined into one. And honestly, the square footage of the combined is less than the 4 spaced out. So if you just look at it from a square footage standpoint, the square footage is less. And so we believe though, by combining them, it'll help eradicate the eye, it'll help give more visibility, particularly at the speed that individuals are traveling. And then the other thing that we're asking is for that directional sign as well. And that because of what I've described previously, getting into the site and out of the site, we want to be able to help people. We want to make their user experience as easy as possible. And part of that is parking. And that's one of the things that we have interviewed people who have utilized the store and try to get customer feedback on is how do I get in and out? And it's a little complicated unless they have to go through the process and fail. We want to be able to make their user experience easy so that honestly word of mouth to the next individual is that much beneficial. So those are the things that are going on and the logic and the reason and the history as to why we're here today kind of asking for these things. The biggest one being that BJ does want to succeed, wants to continue to be in this community, and how can we help that, make that happen? So thank you for letting us come in.
Well, thank you for the explanation, especially with the sign, because that does make a little more sense to me, combining all the signs. Yeah, I understand the dilemma. I like BJ. There was always access on the south that has been a problem from the start. For that property from the very beginning. Any questions from the?
I have just one. So with the combined height, it will down because we were talking 10 feet, 12 feet, so what is, so now you want it 20 feet?
We're proposing 20 feet right now. That was originally 12. 12?
Yeah, 12.
So originally 12. And we're trying to increase it to 20. I do know what the conference center down the road had also requested something very similar. So what we're requesting is what they requested as well, and not to go greater than that. It's still actually 11 feet smaller than Walmart's. It's actually smaller than the other pylons that are in the area. I mean, we had this conversation many years ago. It's just, there are several other pylons in the area. We don't want to be grandfathered in because of archaic standards, but we are asking for something a little bit more visible.
Robin, do you recall when we talked about the signs? I know we seem to have labor on that quite a bit. Kind of stuck with what we have right now. I'm just trying to remember, and I know we talked about it just up through the air in general quite a bit. Do you recall just what was our main reason for saying we wanted to stick with what we had?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was one reason to keep the monument sign standards more or less unchanged. But I think the general conversation was, this has been the rule for many years now. There have been, certain exceptions granted to that in the past. But in general, I think the zoning commission and the trustees will ultimately approved it, were, satisfied with the aesthetic of, the vehicles at the time.
Yeah, I know there was conversation about we didn't want, you drive to them, all these big signs that we kind of show the space. So currently, what's approved for the, I guess, the parcels, there's 4 different.
There's 3 out parcels. Each of those out parcels has a maximum height of 8 feet and a maximum square footage of 75 square feet per side. In addition to the 3 out parcels, there's also BJ's, which has, I believe, a 12-foot sign with a maximum of 125 feet right now, I believe. So doing the math on all of that, you're over 300 square feet per side in 4 signs. And we're trying to combine all those into one sign. That would be a total square footage, I believe, of 12 by 12, which is 144. So you're actually half the square footage, and you've got one sign as opposed to 4.
One side takes care of all the.
That's correct. They'll have an exhibit that shows that DJ's is the anchor tenant with a large logo, and underneath that would be many of the tenants that come in toward the out parcels as well. And then you've got some fuel pricing on there. So
The other process of being, he's on like going back to the plan commission, right?
Correct. Yeah.
They can themselves request another sign when they come into my property.
So we're specifically asking for these signs to be approved as part of the planned district. And so any other signage on the site would have to follow the regular signage standards of Orange Township. So in terms of freestanding monument signs, they wouldn't be allowed to ask for anything additional because it requires 1 monument sign per parcel. They're asking for these signs to be granted specifically as an exception.
Okay, so those other parcels, when they will be designed, so will that not be considered a separate parcel or will that be within this parcel as well?
So current, and when this came through zoning initially 5 years ago, it was all one big parcel. It has been split into smaller sub parcels. But the 3 out parcels themselves, I'm using out parcel, but not technically, it's all one tax parcel. It's not 3 separate, but I mean, for leasing purposes, it like.
But each one, go ahead.
So they can come in and request, because they require something possible.
So, and Eric has it on the screen, so it's just, one parcel in yellow. So per the zoning resolution, they would only be allowed to have 1 monument sign. The current, as it's currently approved, they're allowed to have 3. The applicant is requesting to combine them all back in.
Who would restrict that with respect to who would approve this 1 sign? How would that be restricted so that anybody coming in for these out parcels would say, no, this is your sign, it is now part of this larger thing, and you cannot have another one?
Yeah, so
How would that be, could that be restricted to that?
yeah, and so anytime a sign is installed, whether it's a wall sign or freestanding monument sign, it requires a zoning permit. So the zoning department would not approve a zoning permit for any signs that were not these.
Right, if we approve this at 20 feet for these 3 outlaws, that would be its only sign, no matter what happened. It could not, these other separate businesses couldn't apply for another sign because this is your sign.
Correct, and freestanding signs, they could
Freestanding
have wall signs on
Right,
their.
right, freestanding sign, sorry, right. That be so that could be restricted.
Correct.
That's a plan. Now, there was a mention of, when you compare to the North Point, Walmart, freestanding sign. How does it compare? In terms
So,
of
Eric, can you go to it's the second to last page of the PDF? I couldn't quite fit it in, the staff report, but. see, I haven't measured it myself, the applicant provided this measurement, which shows it at 40 feet.
Yeah, those are shown to scale on that exhibit. You can see it's almost double what we're proposing.
For the out parcels, is there any interest already?
I'm not at liberty to tell you exactly, but I can tell you there's two. I can tell you what was going to happen that didn't because of the access issue. The seventh group that went and ended up going in next to Kroger was looking at this site, and they chose not to because of access, which is unfortunate. And we all know the traffic generation that would have generated because of that. So I think that that's kind of actually beneficial for this site to not have that use, but there are a couple others. I can't tell you exactly who those are. One is, I can give you, generally, one's a restaurant and one's an oil change place.
For automotive, is there an oil change?
Yes, yeah, they're at least interested.
And we have one automotive on 23, it feels like.
Yeah, there's balcony in front of Kroger, quick lubes, yeah, there's a lot.
Anybody have anything? More questions or concerns about it?
Now, the proposed, so you're proposing two different signs, then, right? Two different.
We're actually proposing three signs. The two sign, we're proposing a larger sign on 23, which would be the frontage near the fuel station, which would combine all of the pylons together.
So correct me on which sign that is.
That is the third
biggest
one from the left.
Okay.
That's the cantilever one.
Okay.
That's the one we're proposing on 23.
Yes.
The one second from the left is what we're proposing on Highview, which would be behind Beaches. So that is another sign that we're trying to propose over there that does not currently have a sign right now. So again, it's another point of interest. It's another aspect to be able to get visibility over behind the store in that way, particularly if people get lost or if they get over in there for some reason. And then the third sign that we're proposing is a directional sign that's located on Orange Center, right as you enter into the complex off the curb. And so that's a directional sign that is something just to be able to help people get in appropriately, and then the others would be more pylon in nature.
Is there any, I'm sorry, is there any signs on, behind the BJ's for anyone up in there that's out on the road like that? I don't think so.
I mean, I believe the chiller has one because that's their only point of access.
Is it,
but
is it on the building or is it a monument?
It's a monument sign. So there are some monument signs in that area, but BJ's currently does not have a sign on the Highfield side.
How much of a divergence is for that sign on Highfield? Now you're asking for it to be higher as well?
We are, I believe we're asking for, is it the 10-foot, which would be also a divergence.
So the request is for 12 feet, while the standard is 8 feet.
I'm more inclined to have you keep that one at 8 feet, just because it's Highfield. And again, I think that's right, Chiller's the only business there with that's a slower route. It doesn't, I'm more inclined to have you maintain the standards than
Yeah, traffic is slow.
yeah, traffic is slow enough, but it's a whole different aspect of things, and I agree, I think it does need to start on Highfield to tell you where BJ's is. I think that's an excellent idea. I'm inclined to go with the 20-foot sign for all three of those parcels for what it is. That seems to make some sense, but I'm not inclined to give you the divergence for the height for Highfield.
Nor the direction of the sign, in my opinion. Just because that just seems like there's so many BJ's. So I mean, I think the main entrance, the main travel way, because you're passing 23, you can see the direction of the sign is changed. we know we gotta get over there some kind of ways. When I make a right turn there, I gotta go back that direction, it's no issue, take me back that direction, so it seems like that's reasonable. And then the one on, near the chiller space, how big is the chiller sign?
I don't know off the top of my head, I would assume it's 8 feet.
8 feet.
Yeah, okay, so just as I remember, it looks fairly standard, what's really standard for what town line signs for Orange Township. I mean, I don't know exactly what the best way to see it is to pass through.
Yeah,
I like the idea of this functional, because going up 23, if you're not familiar, you can go right past that turn in.
And to clarify, the directional sign would really not be viewable from 23 itself, it would be on, Eric, can you pull up the site plan?
If they're coming from one court, it was the phone or something.
Yeah, so it's closer to, if you see at the top of the screen
Yeah.
where it says retention pond,
Yeah.
it's closer to that area. We did note the staff report, there are existing directional signs there that have been granted variances in the past.
I can imagine them wanting to use these sign that they have on the road to go to like people and create one. I think that is why they have question of ways, is that?
it's bigger stuff.
For the directional signs, yes, the direct,
On the direction sign, but the currently the one on 20.
yeah, that's going to be torn down.
Sure, okay.
That will be removed and replaced with one that we're proposing. Right, and just to touch on that, there have been directional signs that have been installed, they're much smaller, they're a couple of feet in either width and height, so they're not very visible, particularly at the speed on 23, that's why we wanted another sign that was a little bit more visible to be able to see in that speed.
Are you okay with, the sign on Highfield making that our standard zoning, standard dimensions?
Robin, are we able to propose that right now, to be able to make that a vote?
Yeah, so I think if the commission is leaning that way, and probably do want to open this up for public comment in case there's any comments from the public. If the commission wants to move that to 8 feet, likely I would recommend a resolution of approval with modifications, subject to the modification of that sign being reduced to 8 feet.
Put the directional on that.
Yeah, and so that's something that the commission needs to at least have a majority on.
Yeah.
Regarding directions.
Yeah, so I, on the directional side, I'm fine with 8 foot, I'm fine with your big change. At the end of the day, you indicate that the big change, big sign was to get everybody's attention, given that there's nowhere else to turn and no other way to get into the space. To me, the big one is sufficient. I don't think the direction was necessary. To me, now you're crowding out the space wherever I go, I gotta see BJ sign, regardless of which street I take, I don't wanna see that all the time. I'm comfortable with the 2, not with the 3, so for me, it's I can dance with the big one, and dance with the one in the back, and the direction, which is.
I think you've done a good job, and it's in the best interest of Orange Township to see you succeed.
Yeah.
I think you have to make modifications.
And Mr. McNulty, I would recommend opening up for public comment in case there's any comments.
Does anybody like, I know you're here for Creekside, but all those like, now give your name and address, if you have any comments with respect to this.
Sign posted out there, next to BJ, that's all.
Well, thank you very much. Any other questions, comments from the board? No. All right. Discussions, questions?
And Pam, sir, do you mind pulling your microphone down? Speak right into
Yeah, okay, resolution to recommend approval with modification of zoning application, #zone-26-03 of Decisive Dynamic LLC Motion by Pamela Foster to recommend the Board of Township Trustees, the board, the approval with modifications of zoning application, hashtag ZON-26-03 of site of dynamics, the pages of which are each stamped received with Orange Township zoning on 7/24/25, requesting the amendment of the, currently effective development plan for property owned by JLP Orange LLC, application number ZON-21-07, upon finding that it is in the interest of the public convenience, comfort, prosperity, or general welfare, or sufficiently in accordance with the comprehensive plan, and including additional modifications listed below, the sign on Highfield Road remaining at 8 feet, and 2, the directional sign being placed, I don't know that street name.
Orange Center Drive.
Orange Center Drive. So that's my motion.
Motion seconded.
Motion by Ms. Foster, seconded by Mr. Lapadula. Mr. McNulty,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Ms. Zerko,
Yes.
Mr. Lapadula,
Yes.
Mr. Pierce. Motion carries.
Did we, just for clarification, did we mention all three signs or just, I thought I wanted 2 signs?
The motion was for,
Highfield at 8 feet. Yeah.
so everything else would be considered recommended for.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll make sure I pass this along. It's a developer. I'm really grateful to continue to be able to serve the community and for your support. So thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we'll open the hearing, so we take it.
No.
That's up to you.
Now, let's continue, right? We'll continue this hearing for ZON-26-04. Robin, would you like to start this off?
I will give you just a second, your loads up. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead and stay. Stay there. All right, so I'll run us through the staff report. This is rezone case, ZON-26-04. The applicant is Addison Properties, for property located at 6217 Africa Road, just over 30 acres. The current zoning is farm residential, for FR1. The request is to rezone that acreage, to a planned development for 118 townhome units. Property is currently being farmed and has a variety of accessory structures, equipment, and an existing retention pond on site. In terms of the surrounding area, to the north is Big Walnut Road, as well as some FR1 properties, and then the USA lands, dam on the other side of Big Walnut to the Center Road. To the south is Africa Road and road right of way. To the east is I-71 and single family plan residential on the other side of 71. To the west is Africa Road as well as some FR1 properties, single family plan residential district, including Crystal Valley on the west side. You can see the aerial photograph of the property outlined in teal there on the screens. In terms of the comprehensive plan, parcels in question are located in sub-area 10 of the 2018 land use plan in orange. Recommendation 11-3 states single-family infill remainder areas at 1 unit per acre without centralized sewer or 2 units per acre with centralized sewer. Recommendation 11-4 reads to work with ODOT and the county engineer to secure the I-71 interchange at Big Walnut Road, while recommendation 11-5 reads to preserve the area around the interchange as non-commercial to preserve the flow of traffic. Exhibit A is the site plan provided by the applicant. You have a larger version of this that we can show on the screen later. Just this one for now, specifically this landscaping plan with property showing the townhome lots as well as plans to be planted and open space. So, In terms of density and unit count, again, proposed list for 118 townhomes. The gross density is 3.89 units per acre. This does comply with the PUD's maximum density of 6 units per acre for multifamily uses. The development is proposed to be completed in 3 phases. Phase 1 would be 48 lots, phase 2 would be 34 lots, and phase 3 would be 36 lots. Open space area is listed as 10 acres, or roughly 33% of the property. The development text as proposed would require a total of 30% of open space. The lot standards would be as follows. This is, as we read it, it's meant to be a platted subdivision. So each townhome would be on its own individually platted lot. So the lots have a minimum lot area of 2,800 square feet, minimum lot width of 28 feet, minimum lot depth of 100 feet. Building setbacks for those lots would be a front setback of 25 feet, side setback 0 feet whenever the units are sharing walls, and then 20 feet between the buildings or clusters. Minimum rear setback on lots would be 20 feet. Maximum building height is 35 feet, which is compliant with section 10.01E4 of the zoning resolution. That requires a maximum of 35 feet height for all residential units. The development text states that all dwelling units shall be constructed with durable, low-maintenance exterior materials, including a combination of brick, stone, cementitious siding, and similar materials, consistent with the character of surrounding residential development. The applicant did provide sample elevations in the development. In terms of landscaping, there is a 25-foot buffer to be provided around the perimeter of the property, trees for screening in areas where there is non-existent foliage. We did note that 2 of the cul-de-sac and associated sidewalks appear to encroach into the buffer zone. So that is something to be aware of and perhaps address in potential revisions. 2 areas are marked on the landscaping plan for existing trees to remain. Principally in the corners of the southwest and northwest corners along Africa Road. A buffer of landscaping and mounding has been added to the southwest corner of the site. The development text does note that street trees would be planted in accordance with section 21.07 of the zoning resolution, which requires street trees. We call them street trees, but they're technically on private property outside of any public right of way. Landscaping plan shows 118 street trees to be planted in that development. Those trees would be Armstrong maple, trident maple, hedge maple, American hornbeam trees, buffer trees in the 25-foot buffer zone, with Norway spruce, Colorado blue spruce, and Serbian spruce trees. In terms of amenities, dog park is shown on the development plan in the northeast corner of the site, as well as a pavilion, retention basin, as well as a walking path around the basin itself. There are also 2 mail kiosks shown along the streets, one on the east side of the proposed public road and one on the west side of the northeastern cul-de-sac. In terms of signage, a monument sign is proposed near the entrance to Africa Road. Rendering is also included. Dimensions were not included on the rendering, so the sign would have to comply with section 22.07B of the zoning resolution, unless any explicit divergences were granted that were requested at this time. But otherwise, unless an divergence is specifically granted, as we saw in the previous case, all signs would have to comply with zoning rules as written. Renderings for a number of temporary signs were included in the development plan. While these would not necessarily conform to the signage rules of the zoning resolution, generally we don't object to the temporary signs as long as they're restricted to the interior of the site. We wouldn't necessarily want them to be visible from any of the arterial roads near the property, but if they're limited to the exterior of the site, generally not a big problem. We would recommend adding language to the development text that specifies that upon completion of development, the temporary signs would be removed, no longer considered to be permitted, as well as identifying any temporary signage, if any, that would be visible from the entrance on the Africa Road. We did note that no lighting plan was submitted with the application. We would like the applicant to confirm that no street lighting or common area lighting is to be proposed, otherwise a lighting plan would be required. As noted earlier, the 2 cul-de-sac approach into the 25-foot buffer zone. Again, we don't necessarily object to this, but we would recommend that language is added that would permit these encroachments into the buffer zone. We would also recommend adding some type of landscape buffer if possible to the north side of the western cul-de-sac to prevent headlights sweeping vehicles onto the neighboring property. Temporary signage indicated that one unit would be a model home. We do recommend identifying which unit would be used as the model on the development plans. Width of the proposed right-of-way and public street was not provided in the application. We would like to see that in the final application, just so we're aware of it, as well as other agencies. Street parking may be restricted by the fire department on one side of the street, depending on which side has the fire hydrants, independent of the width of that road. Well, this is not necessarily a zoning requirement. It is typical for developments of this size to include parking for the mail kiosks. We do recommend that the applicant consult with the county engineer's office to determine if parking spaces would be a requirement on public streets. Africa Road is a county road that's owned and maintained by Delaware County, so Orange Township doesn't necessarily have jurisdiction. However, the Orange Township Active Transportation Plan does recommend that a future multi-use path be installed along Africa Road. So we do recommend that easement for a future multi-use path along the Africa Road frontage of this property be dedicated, subject to consultation with the engineer's office. We do also note that the project would be required to comply with Orange Township's development policy due to the density of development, which would require the property to join a new community authority or NCA, where an additional property tax millage would be placed upon the property. In terms of review from other agencies, we still are waiting on some reports from other reviewing agencies. The time of writing the site layout has been submitted to the Orange Township Fire Department for their review. However, they have not yet issued the approval of the plans. Fire Department's approval would be required prior to approval of rezoning by the Township trustees. I did see an email earlier this afternoon from the Fire Department, I think just requesting some more information from the applicants, so they're still continuing their review. The Delaware County Regional Planning Commission has not yet issued a recommendation on this application. Therefore, the zoning commission will not vote on this application until that recommendation has been received. At the conclusion of this evening, zoning commission will not take action on this application. We will propose continuing this hearing to a date in September. September 8th is the next regularly scheduled zoning commission meeting. September 22nd will also be an option. So the RBC's recommendation will be taken into account, and the applicant has a chance to make or present any revisions to the plan, depending on the feedback tonight. I do want to address also, we received a number of public comments with justified concerns about traffic and stormwater in particular. That's not necessarily our focus tonight. Those will be reviewed in detail by the county engineer, or the zoning commission, or staff may not necessarily have all the answers for the traffic and stormwater in the area. The developer may be able to shed some light on their plans for those areas in their presentation. Answers to their questions. That's all I have at this time. I can answer any questions from the commission.
Thanks, Robert. Gentlemen, can you tell us what your project is?
Well, Robert, thank you so much. Very comprehensive report. Thank you so much for the presentation for us tonight. I'm Mike Cherry, Class Properties, 5 South Lee Street, Powell, Region Cosper. We think it's a really unique opportunity. We're going to Mr. Leopard on this property because of this kind of secluded nature, almost in the moon, and working with the county. Also, I know some traffic concerns, normal things that always comes up in these hearings, traffic, stormwater, and so forth. So, yeah, sorry, said to talk loud, so kind of back away. So appreciate you saying that. Traffic improvements already planned for Africa Road as well as Bridge Walnut. We have worked with Rob Riley, the county engineer, their plans, certain at the recommendation for future paths, all the recommendations for easement, NCA, et cetera, so forth. We absolutely have no objections to that. Again, the management of traffic and turn lane requirements as per the county engineer are part of our plans, and we park in this middle off of Africa Road. We're On the big walnut side of things, it's an emergency access point only to the line of sight because of the bridge and some elevations that was also addressed with the county engineer. The pond location where it sits today, interestingly enough, the pond will be relocated to where you're seeing on the site plan. It has to do with how the whole property drains. We've done a jurisdictional delineation, figuring out where the water flows before they reach culvert underneath 71, to understand what the flow of the water looks like. Again, kind of head this off the path, we always deal with stormwater concerns, and it is by design, by law, and by just doing the right thing, we have to leave the property in better shape than it is today. So it's through structured water management, it'll be engineered, detained, and output.
Delaware County pretty much will take care of those water issues, because they're not gonna automatically build until it is. So that, I've been doing this for 20 years, I have great confidence in what they do with respect to the water.
So,
We certainly like to hear about the townhomes and what you want to build.
sure. And we've done a number of projects in Delaware County, Addison Farm, we're building 2 projects in Berlin. So there's a lot of product that we have on the ground here that folks can see. I believe this is the roof, but we're talking about 28 2-story product, so 35-foot elevation, we won't get anywhere near that. The home itself lives like a single-family residence, albeit it's attached. And that allows for the multifamily usage in the PUD to be, 6-to-1 density, we're considering under that. 3-bedroom, 2-story, there's an option for a basement, at the way it's laid out, so it's very much a targeted towards a single family. And still very, very well built, architectural standards we adhere to and building materials, so it's a high quality product, high quality home in an area where I think we can get some more, we're not even broaching, we can talk about pricing, people have questions, what is it priced at? Is it going to increase my property values, my taxes, is it going to decrease it? Some of those questions come up all the time. We can anecdotally address that, but I can tell you what the price point would be, it's going to be the 400 to 500s, I'm guessing. So that's, please don't hold me to it, that's usually the target. Anything else I can tell you about the product themselves?
Does that end your presentation? We can start questioning?
I mean, certainly unless you have additional questions, I'm sure there'll be questions that arise and we have to address them.
Are these, I think that was a point earlier about the parking, right, or at least 2-car garages?
Yes, absolutely. 2-car garage, 2 in the driveway, additional parking for kiosks, we were discussed that with our in-house engineer, so we addressed.
And so the, just looking for things like, playground equipment or things like that, is that kind of scheduled built somewhere here, right? It's it's a lot of people, a lot of single families here. And just wondering if there,
We'd love to hear your feedback on that, certainly open to that, if there's a playground request, you want to put a, top out, if you will, or some sort of Victoria playground area.
I know it's not necessarily something that we control, but it's just something I've seen in the past. That seems like with the many folks here that makes some sense.
We would generally would amenize a community, yes, so that would be included in our full plan that goes to the council.
And Robin, just curious, I know you said this is not within our jurisdiction of the path to continue. Where does that rest?
So our recommendation would be to have an easement for future path along the active road frontage on the southwest side there. The Orange Township Active Transportation Plan does also recommend, long-term a path along Big Walnut Road on the north, but our understanding is that the path would be on the north side of the road, not the south side.
So you said 2-car garage for 3-bedroom,
Yes,
and the pricing is like 400, it's a starting price.
I would believe that would be proper number, yes, it'd be 400 or 500s.
And this meets all the other standards with respect to the mailbox, I mean, they've got postal access for everybody. Does this have a clubhouse for the community?
There's not a clubhouse in this particular property, in this
Okay.
particular community. The amenity that was briefly addressed,
Okay,
we certainly can talk about that and go from there.
these are, as you said, they're more townhomes, so they're more like individual homes, even though they're together, still like a family, but
That's
your
correct.
thought process is been away from, apartments there.
Correct. This is not a single plat, multifamily apartment setup. This is a individual plat of townhome, which will have individual ownership.
Right.
So I know,
Bedrooms, 2-car garage, they can't have a basement,
correct. Yes, sir.
so it can be thought of more as a home rather than.
Yes,
apartment.
it is on the spectrum from apartment to a single family. It is way over here towards a single family.
Yeah,
In fact, the 28-foot home, this particular townhome is designed and lives like a single family home with only living space. Because a lot of times you'll see townhomes, there are 3 stories and the kitchen and living room is on the 2nd floor. In this case, it's a 2-story and it lives and looks and breathes just like a conventional single family home.
I know the world has changed, all the prices are way up. So you try to make things that are affordable, hard to believe that how affordable, $400,000 or $500,000. I know, but unfortunately, that's the current world we live in.
Whatever vernacular we want to use, attainable, affordable, I mean, it's hard to do these things, right? To do everything in our power to make it, build a quality community and still be able to address the needs of folks that are living here, moving here, the kids that are coming back. And I understand the challenges we
Well, I
deal with all
forget
the
what
time.
affordable, I shouldn't have even used that, because that's not the
Is
reason
it
why I
correct?
asked anyway. It's more a matter, here's what we can build, here's what people are buying, here's what they can afford their families. It's the way the world works.
What was the density story here? Did we say the density was?
It's the 6-to-1 density is the maximum PUD allowed. And then this is it's less than that, it's under 4 right out of 4.
You maximize the space for lots of people.
We have.
What's the square footage, average square?
These are not small. These are 2,200 square foot. So this is a pretty sizable footprint. We've also done that to consolidate green space and preserve trees. It takes a long time to grow trees. Mr. Leopard, we have time to walk this property, but we planted all these pines in 1956. They've been in the ground for a long time, so we want to always preserve as much legacy.
My last question is on the retention pond. Did you say it's subject to move?
The retention pond, if you see where it is now, it's in a different spot. And it's not the first time we've done it, but for drainage purposes, it would be relocated, right?
Will be relocated? Do you have a,
Where it is where it is on the site plan is the new location.
That's in the right, correct. Where it is now, if you looked at an aerial foot, it's in a different spot.
and like Robin, like as you mentioned, the original planning is going to decide, like you said, is it doable or not, right? So we don't want to discuss on that, right?
From an engineering standpoint, it is doable, and I mean, this is something.
We just go by what the original
Sure.
planning commission is going to decide on that, so. So I'm a little, I understand like this pricing starts from 400 to 500, that's a starting price you said, right? Am I clear on that? The starting price,
You would be in the 400s, and depending on options, because as you build these, right? these-
options, I'm sorry, what was the option?
Oh, with options as far as what kind of materials folks would finish this with. Because when these are built, most of them are purchased ahead of time. And so folks have the ability to design and say, well, I like the granite, or I like the new quartz, or I like a solid surface here, this is the materials I'm going to use here.
Yeah, I get that. So the base plan, the base price, let me put it that way. So the base price is like 400,000, right?
I would think it's somewhere around there. I mean, please don't hold me to the exact numbers, right? So it's, I always equate it to,
Like what I'm trying to tell here, like it's a 3-bedroom home, like I typically see single car attached. So if the intention, I'm trying to see the intention, I understand like we cannot, you know, suggest them anything. But I'm also have a responsibility to understand, like the 3-bedroom and 2-car attached. If the intention is going to provide like a single family home feeling, I don't comment. So that's what I'm trying to understand myself, because like tomorrow when we're going to put all the points together, I have a responsibility to think of everything. Typically it comes down to what it's doing for the residents, or what's our goal here, I'm trying to make more, you know, easier for people to live here, things like that.
Well, I think we're taking a unique parcel that is adjacent to a freeway that most likely will not have $700,000-800,000 homes on it. I know some multifamily was proposed earlier on with a higher density. What we're doing is creating again, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of talking attainability and affordability. We're creating a quality community that still addresses the needs of a family, for instance. I can't tell you who's going to live there, but by and large, 3 bedrooms, a car is probably most likely targeted towards it. But like a single family, but it would be an attached community. So it's not very different than you see in normal, typical single family. I think that's the entire intent. If you were to build these as a single family unit, they would be in the 600s. I think that's the difference.
Yeah. I can't envision one single road coming and outgoing for 180 homes. I can't envision people living in cul-de-sacs, being able to get out and onto that road. Second question is there any development standards a major highway being close to major highway? How far do you have to be for noise? Because this seems to be half.
Yeah.
If you look at the ice on the other side, I know noise is not a big thing to consider, but for this, it seems to be encroaching halfway to the tree lines.
Yeah, no, there's no prescriptive distance. I mean, you know, in general, those types of things are more market driven. Assuming that people don't want to buy, you know, a dwelling unit, be it attached or detached, that's, you know, 20 feet from a major highway.
Certainly, a lot of railroads and freeway runs through Delaware County. Lewis Center, it's unique, right? There's a lot of 3 railroad crossings and homes all around there. If you look at what's around there, up and down 71, you know, some are closer, some are further proximity, but a lot of that has to do with topography as well. There's a lot of mature trees on this side, and this is, again, almost in a secluded ravine. I've lived here for a very long time. I've driven past this. I hiked the dam. I've ridden my mountain bike here. I never knew that was here. And I've driven past it many times. It's kind of big back there. And I think that's also unique because it's, as you see coming off of Africa Road, there's a lot of, between the pond and the green space. Folks from Crystal Valley are going to see that back there. It's almost hidden.
Let's open up to, for any questions, concerns. I've got a few ground rules. Number 1, like keep it 3 minutes. Number 2, give your name and address. And number 3, most important, since there's so many people, is that if your concern's already been said, I don't mind you come up and say, hey, I agree with that way you can register it for whatever opposition you may have, that's all good. But we'd like to at least keep it somewhat concise here, that I'm concerned with whatever it is. If it hasn't been mentioned, great. If it has and you agree with that, come up, give your name and address, say I agree with what else been said. We'll hear from somebody else. 3 minutes, name and address, please.
And Mr. McNulty, it might be helpful for people to address questions and comments of the commission, and we can return, the applicant have a chance at the end to respond to
Yes,
questions.
exactly. The applicants doesn't get an opportunity to respond to all of them, but don't address things to the applicant while we're here. Because they're going to take notes while you're speaking about those questions you may have that they're going to be able to answer.
So Ravi, can the public still comment about the traffic again, or if we can make it clear, I think that helps everyone.
Yeah, I think Mr. McNulty's point is, if somebody gives a comment about traffic, the next person, if it's the exact same comment, say, I agree with the concerns about traffic rather than.
And you've been registered, right? That you were here.
Who's up first?
Hi, my name is Amy Bach. I live at 6112 Adams Road. So based on my location, I live directly across from this proposed Creekside Glen development. I understand that Orange Township is growing, and I'm not opposed to growth. My concern is whether we are approving increasingly dense development without ensuring that our infrastructure and public services are keeping pace. So of course, we all know traffic is a concern. That's very clear. Africa Road is a 2-lane road that already experiences significant congestion, particularly during the morning commute. This proposal adds 118 houses, yet after reviewing the 68-page application, I cannot find a traffic impact study. The development also provides only one regular public street connection with a separate gated emergency access only connection. Before approving this rezoning, residents deserve to know how many additional daily peak hour trips will this development generate? How will those vehicles affect existing congestion? Has the safety of the proposed entrance been evaluated? And has anyone studied the cumulative traffic impact of this development alongside the other growth occurring in the area? We should not wait until the road becomes unsafe or unmanageable to determine that infrastructure improvements were necessary. I'm also concerned about the cumulative demand on public services. Orange Township continues to add residents while relying on county law enforcement. At what point does the growth require dedicated deputies or additional law enforcement resources, and what will that cost taxpayers? The same question applies to EMS. There are also issues within the developer's own application that deserve clarification. The application repeatedly identifies Creekside Glen as 118 townhomes on 30.4 acres, yet the AEP letter submitted with it describes the same parcel as 150 townhomes on 30.4 acres. Did AEP evaluate this current 118-unit development or the earlier 150-unit proposal? The sewer documentation is also conditional. Delaware County states that capacity is not reserved and may decrease because of ongoing development. Because increasing the permitted density of this property, we should know that the infrastructure necessary to support it is actually available. My concern this is particularly important to me as we have been directly affected by other development in this area. The proposal advertises approximately 33% open space, but the development text allows the detention basin, perimeter buffers, and recreational areas to all count towards that figure, with the stormwater basin permitted to constitute as much as half of the required open space. More importantly, what analysis demonstrates that converting 30 acres of farmland into rooftops, streets, sidewalks, and driveways will not increase runoff and drainage problems for neighboring properties? This is not hypothetical for my family. I know you had mentioned that the county is responsible for maintaining and ensuring the drainage, but previously, construction of just one home adjacent to this area caused significant flooding in our backyard. The county ultimately had to excavate our property and to correct the drainage problem. While we no longer have water actively flowing through our yard, it is consistently wet, and it was not before that one house was built across the street on Africa Road. So that was the impact of just one home. Now we're discussing 118 homes along with roads, driveways, and other impervious surfaces directly across from us. Existing homeowners should not be left dealing with drainage consequences after development has already been approved and built. I am asking the township to require clear, site-specific evidence that this development will not shift stormwater problems onto surrounding existing properties. Finally, this property is currently zoned as farm residential. The applicant acknowledges that this proposed neighborhood quote, could not be achieved under the existing FR1 district. So the question should not simply be whether 118 homes can physically fit on 30 acres. The question should be, is the intensity of development appropriate for this particular property, given Africa Road, surrounding homes, sewer capacity, stormwater, public safety, schools, and the cumulative growth occurring around Orange Township. I'm not asking Orange Township to stop growing, I'm asking that we grow responsibly. Once this property is rezoned and these homes are built, we cannot undo the traffic, drainage impacts, infrastructure demands, or public service costs that follow. For those reasons, I respectfully ask the Commission not to recommend approval unless these questions have been answered and infrastructure impacts have been thoroughly evaluated. Growth is inevitable, but infrastructure should keep pace with growth, not chase after it. Thank you.
Traffic study, just want to do this curve through this.
Yeah, so I believe that a traffic study will be, is in process with the county engineer's office that will be.
Okay. And again, a lot of this is, that's their responsibility. Okay.
Yeah, we get a go some of that, so
Yeah.
take those out.
Yeah, I guess that advocate to customer. Name and address.
Yes, Benjamin Letter, 6125 Africa Road. And Amy pretty well killed almost everything on my list. With the exception of just two things. My family has farmed in this valley for almost 200 years. And I've seen 4 decades of screw-ups in the way that we manage our growth and development. We need to decide when enough is enough. And just in March, this township decided that we were going to preserve FR1, and we decided that was a priority. And it doesn't make sense that we're now going back on that because somebody needs to cash out 30 acres. What really frustrates me, and I want to make sure that the commission looks at this, you're welcome to come and sit on my drive and watch the cars stack up, semi-trucks hit the highway, and close the whole road. But what really frustrates me is if you look at the 30 acres and you look at the density that's being proposed, it's deceptive. If you actually map out how many acres are available for development, the number's not 30, it's 20. And the density is not 3.9, it's 6.2. I would like if someone would look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Les Bright, lives 4791 St. Vivian Drive in Regency at the Lakes. My wife and I and our 2 sons have lived in Westerville for 41 years. When we decided to move up here from Virginia 41 years ago, the real estate agent tried to show us Upper Arlington and Bexley. And we decided that we wanted to live in the country, where it was peaceful and quiet, and there were a lot of single-family homes. So we fired our real estate agent, we drove to Westerville the next weekend, and we found a house in Spring Grove. And we've lived in, not in that house, but we've lived in the area, both in North Township and Orange Township for the last 41 years. I have grandchildren in Orange High School. I have a son who lives in the sanctuary with his family. And I will tell you that the reason that we moved to where we are now in Regency at the Lakes was because it was pristine, well cared for, well manicured, lots of green space. It was private and it was peaceful. I've seen I know I can't address these people. I've seen some of the documentation, some of the front elevations of these properties. So I asked Mr. Duffy over here if there was any other property like this in Orange Township. And he said to me, I can use your words, there's not another analogous property with the exception of the villages at Vail Canyon. So I went over to the villages at Vail Canyon last night and I rode around. And as you go in, the first 2 or 3 units that they built look very nice. They have front porches, they have flowers, blah, blah, blah. As you ride toward the back, I felt like I was on the hilltop. So those of you who've been here kind of know what I'm talking about. The front elevations that I see in the plans, and I hear a $400,000 to $500,000 home with no masonry firewall. So what's separating you and your neighbor with a Glock is 2 pieces of wallboard. I would ask that you all deny this application forever. Thank you.
I'm Jeremy Jefferson, I'm in 6100 After Road. I prepared a speech, but before I go into that, I want to put some notes on some things I want to talk about. The stuff I want to talk about primarily is what Amy already touched on a little bit, is response times for first responders. But I live on a cul-de-sac, and my kids in the neighborhood kids play on that cul-de-sac all the time. It's quiet, it's nice. Every now and then we'll have a car that turns around, then we'll have a car that stops to look at the map or something that is lost. And also, we've had cars that are suspicious that end up parked there, and we have to, someone has to go outside and see what's going on. So with 118 units being built across the street, that's a lot of people. And I know we're not supposed to talk about the traffic. It's a lot of traffic that's gonna be turning around my cul-de-sac with my kids outside playing with strangers that I don't know who they are, hanging out on my cul-de-sac. I'm not a fan of that. That's argument against it. So I'll go into my speech now. It's less than 3 minutes, I promise. So, I'm respectfully asking that you take a deeper look at considering the Creekside Unit Development Plan and rezoning of 6217 Africa Road. This proposal should not only be considered in terms of land use and development, but also consider the impact on public safety. Delaware County as a whole is rapidly expanding, and Orange Township is pacing with that expansion as well. Whenever a community grows, the public safety demands also increase. New homes, businesses, traffic, and residents mean additional demands on police, fire, and emergency medical services, along with other essential services that are provided. The cost for service substantially increase, and the response times will increase as well with additional traffic for population. The township should consider exploring these essential challenges before approving this project. Planning needs to be done proactively and not when the problems arise. With that, I believe an important question the board should ask is whether our existing public safety infrastructure can adequately serve that amount of folks that are going to be moving into these small areas. Emergency responders need reliable access and increased risk mitigation when responding to calls for service while utilizing their vehicles' emergency equipment. With increased traffic on the road, and I keep bringing that up, I'm not supposed to, but it is what it is. That's part of this argument. It increases the risk of traffic incidents and increases the chances of the public and our first responders being harmed responding to increased calls for service. I'm not opposed to this project essentially at principle, but I am opposed to what it has as far as the impact on my public safety. Delaware County Sheriff's Office is amazing. The response times are great. I've utilized them before. The emergency medical services here are great. I've utilized them as well. And what does that mean for them as far as, are they involved in this conversation at all? Okay, thank you.
They have to approve it.
Okay. Our community deserves development that is not only economically beneficial to the township and welcoming, but also safe for people who live, work, and travel here. I urge the board to carefully consider the impact this proposal could have on public safety, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sorry.
My name is Dave Cannon. I live at 6147 Africa Road. It's right north of the retention pond, west of those 10 units that you see right there. I just look at this plan and just the density. It's just not characteristic of what's surrounding us. If you look right across 71, the Regency, I believe, gentlemen over here lives there. It's a beautiful community. They're standalone. They don't need to be attached. Just moving up an entire pond is just, I trust that they're gonna do it correctly, but just the idea of doing it just to develop 118 units, I think we can decrease the density a lot. And I don't think you're gonna get $400,000 as a starting point for these either. As far as not being, not getting $700,000 to $800,000 homes against the highway, I don't know if you're familiar with Whispering Bridge. But yeah, those loans will go for $700,000 easily, and they bought 71. So you can do it, and you can do it tastefully. I'm curious, is there gonna be a traffic light just north of 71 on Africa?
So that's Delaware County.
Okay, got you. But yeah, I'm most concerned about the density and the exterior characteristics of the home. I just feel like with townhomes like this, I don't see stucco, I'm not seeing brick. I don't think that's gonna be part of the plan. And I think it's gonna ruin a lot of property values around this. In addition to all the other concerns everybody, mentioned that I echo. So I hope you reject this as is. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Duffy. I live at 4688 Meadows Court, Louisiana, Highland. We have 118 homes in our development. They want to put 118 townhomes in this development. I've given a list to Mr. Duffy here. His is double E minus Y. He said this is in the general comment file that each one of you should have and should have read by now. Have you all read? There's 15 comments in here, and most of them have been touched on by most of the people here already. My main concern is that you talk about a retention pond out there. He's gonna move it. Is he gonna put a liner in that with a pump? And who's gonna be responsible to maintain that?
Delaware County.
Delaware County.
Delaware County takes care of all the water issues, traffic issues.
I'm glad you believe that, because I don't.
I've watched it occur.
Well, yeah, again, 118 homes, they're talking about 118 extra parking spaces besides 2 in the garage, which is 236 cars. I guess Mr. Duffy about the impact that it's gonna have on the local police and fire. We have the sheriff, but the local fire and EMS sectors. Plus also the school system. This school system is already screaming. My grandchildren don't even have lockers in the coming schools. They can't get lockers, then you're gonna put another, he's saying 3-bedroom house, so that's a mother and a father and 2 children, that's not an average. So you put another 236 kids in the school system. Plus you added all this traffic to the streets, as somebody has said. Big Walnut and Aquifer is a disaster in the morning and it's a disaster from 2 to 6 in the afternoon. No matter how you look at it. They wanted to put a off-ramp for 71 year, that's gonna go in that island. They take a start of the thing on that. So the traffic, is there gonna be a traffic light on Big Walnut? Is the county gonna change the traffic light at Africa and Big Walnut to a roundabout? Are they gonna put speed reduction lanes as entrances to this project? That needs to have the wide road. The entrance directly across from the valley, right across the street, they're parallel to each other. And in my development, trying to get out of Big Walnut at 3 times in the morning, you can't make left-hand turns because of the volume of traffic that's going east and west on Big Walnut. And then back up from the intersection of that. Again, not to take it out any longer, but I would suggest read the 15 questions that I submitted, and it's talking about the infrastructure, water, electric, storage, drainage. You talk about trees. Nobody mentioned, are they gonna put a sound wall along between the highway and the back of this development? If so, who's gonna pay for it? Who's gonna do the stuff? If the wall has to go in there. These places are only 25 feet wide, 100 feet deep. They're like row houses in a big city for me. Thank you for listening, and I hope you consider this as a dead project.
Hello, I wasn't planning on speaking. My name is David Haupt. I live at 4370 Lewis Center Road. I concur. I've lived there since '97. I've seen traffic just grow exponentially. Quite honestly, the traffic accidents have gotten worse since the county put the traffic signal. I know the four-way stop was bad, but the traffic accidents were bad that happened now. I had not many more cars than this was. But one thing that jumped out to me, I've been in the building industry for my entire career. I'm almost 69 years old, still working. But one thing that jumped out to me, it said they're going to connect 118 homes to an 8-inch sewer that's at the top of Crystal Valley Drive. I remember when I built my house, because I connect into that, my house connects into that. Water runs downhill. When all the houses in Crystal Valley were built, none of them, well, backflow prevention in the sewer was not required. I doubt if any of them have it. Delaware County, shortly after that, requires all new homes to have backflow prevention in their sewer systems for each house, because the Delaware County sewer system has lift stations which fail. If all those homes in Crystal Valley do not have backflows in each one of those houses, and you put 118 units on an 8-inch sewer line, which isn't very big, and the lift station fails, guess what's going to happen? So I would say, at a minimum, if they, anything, they need to look at that. The county, sewer system has to look at that. If they don't, they're the low point on the system. It's not going to be pretty, especially with that many houses on an 8-inch sewer. I know that like a regular house has a 6-inch sewer line for like 4 toilets. Put 118 homes on an 8-inch sewer line, and something happens, it's not going to be great for the people. Right? That's all I'm saying.
My name's Rob Eggman, I live at 7004 Africa Road. A couple of comments. First of all, I appreciate your haircut, very sharp. Secondly, I'm also a businessman, and what I see on this picture is project efficiency and optimization. And I think unfortunately, multi-homes do not fit our surrounding neighborhood, so that concerns me. It doesn't fit. On Africa Road, which I think soon may be renamed after the highway, is concerning to me. We are already dealing with eminent domain. I'm losing a fair portion of my front yard. And as someone mentioned earlier, there's quite a backup from Burlington Road. I live half a mile north of Burlington Road, and it takes about 3 minutes to get on my driveway in the morning. I'm really not interested in having 200 additional cars going in the same direction, because they all need to go to Africa Road to get to Nationwide, Medford, Toledo, Furtive, and everything else that's in that direction that requires going south on Africa Road past my house. We moved here 9 years ago from Boston, north side of Boston, in part due to congestion. I wanted it back. I like what I want. Thanks.
Jason Walker, 4930 Augusta Drive. I agree with a lot of everything that everybody's saying. It's hard to believe that we're having this conversation. We've been asking for a bike path to get under the interstate over there for 10 years, and instead we're here talking about multi-family homes going up in the same area. We've been asking to try to get underneath the highway. We bought this area because there was no multi-family homes, and there was no land to develop multi-family homes. Within a 2-mile radius of this area, you won't find another multi-family home complex with the surrounding homes being $1 million homes. Our taxes are probably going to be the same price as these mortgages for these complexes that we're purchasing. I know you said $400,000 to $500,000 is a lot, but when you're looking at what we pay in taxes, between $15,000 to $20,000 a year, it gets tough to, you know, put something like that surrounding your community. On top of that, just one thing to consider as well is take a look at many of the other complexes that have also tried to do this, down Big Walnut. They've all pushed for the multifamily. It was declined, most of those were in Genoa Township. And so I just want everybody to take a fair look at that and keep that into consideration, when they're making a decision. Thank you.
I'm also at 6147 app, so my husband already spoke. We echo everything and everybody said, but I also want to add, our property abuts that on two sides. We are a majority of the direct neighbors, so we don't support it, but if it were to get approved, my biggest concern is the 25-foot buffer. I think there needs to be a fence and a bigger buffer, not just for us, but everybody that abuts the property. So, but again, everybody said traffic is a big problem. Drainage, I know ours drains towards you, but Lever's property directly drains into ours. There's a natural sewer easement. It caused a lot of problems. So, and that's it.
Anyone else?
Wizard, 6034 Turner Drive. Would you please go back and show us the surrounding areas? Will you list what the housing development is, the surrounding area? I have a chart. Well, you had it delineated north, south, east, west. It's probably a second or third page here.
Is that in the staff report?
Just right in your staff report. No, keep going. You had it north, south, east, west, when you delineated what the properties and developments were around here, right there. I think we should look at this, okay? I don't see any high-density housing listed anywhere around this proposed development. This is a terrible, terrible use of the land. What is it currently zoned? And how many homes per acre?
It's a one
acre lot. I'm asking the commission, why are each of you agreeing to change that zoning? I want each of you to be able to speak clearly to the residents here who you represent, why you think this is a good idea.
Have a voting commission.
I understand that.
So
I understand
nobody
that.
needs to answer that question for you.
Once you vote, should you vote, I would like each of you after your vote to explain your vote and why you would agree to that. And the other thing is, I hear all these questions, traffic, stormwater. I hear all these questions, and all I hear is, well, we don't have an answer for that yet. We're waiting for information. If we're waiting for information, why are we here tonight? This should be tabled until all the information is available. To vote on anything without an answer is irresponsible. It is absolutely irresponsible.
So
why you put this forward? Why you put this forward before you have the answer is beyond me. Please explain that to me.
Because there's another meeting, this isn't the final one for this. Well, what you're asking for is already going to occur, we already said that.
Then I would like you to reject this immediately and not consider it any further.
Anyone else? Anyone else that wants to speak?
I have a question about.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm sorry, thank you.
name's John Gardner, 4864 President's Cup Drive. This is more of a question. At what point in the process is it possible to change them from basically homes or townhomes to rental units? And will the owner be able to rent them?
I think there's no restrictions. I mean, it's like any private home anywhere. Somebody can decide they want to rent it. So that could be true for $1 million home. They decide to rent it. Anybody can do that. So yes, it'd be open, just as you are.
Okay, so that would be up to the HOA of the community.
The owner, sure.
And the other thing is, thank the Lord, 14 years ago, I had a heart attack that I should have survived, 100% blockage in my LAD. And one of the reasons we picked where we live is Africa to Cleveland straight shot to St. Anne's Hospital. If I had to go to a cath lab and get a stent. And the more developments like this, you know, I may not get there in time next time. So take that into consideration, please.
My name is Fran Rideout. I live at 4791 San Miguel. My husband was up here before. I have one question. If you're familiar with the subdivision, the code, it started out as condos or whatever for sale. Now they are advertising, renting. The builder is advertising that they are now rental properties, whatever is left. Is this something that the builder can do? If he starts them out as, you know, single-family homes for sale, can they, well, this has been done.
He's already set this up as townhomes for sale. I don't believe they can make it.
Well,
So did the code.
yeah, I believe they could, yeah, they're individual private lots, but they're being rented out. Zoning is essentially agnostic when it comes to ownership.
And this is what happened in the code. We started out as for sale for single families, and then they, they're for rent. The builders.
Paul Newkirk, 489360. Agree with what most of these people said. I want to bring one thing up about follow up to your point. We have an HOA in our neighborhood where you are not allowed to make sure you convert your home into a rental. You're not allowed to sublease the basement. You're not allowed to run a business. So while I would prefer not to have this go through, I do think if the developers came up with some recommendations or covenants that said we're gonna have a strong HOA in place that maintains the quality of the neighborhood and neighborhood density, that may help their argument, as opposed to we're gonna develop this and run it and don't care what happens next because it's not a problem. So, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. All right, thank you very much. We'll close the public hearing. We need to decide on a new date.
Yeah, so Mr. McNulty, it might be beneficial to let the applicant respond to some comments, questions.
Like to respond to any of those?
Sure, thank you. I think there's a lot of good comments here. A lot of folks are definitely passionate about this place. Like I live in Delaware County. I've lived here long enough, these things aren't novel. These comments, I understand where they come from. Been doing this long enough to hear the same comments about in the neighborhoods that these folks live in now. So it's about responsible growth. It's about working with regional planning, the fire department, police, schools. Building 2 communities next to only taking schools right now. Superintendent Meyer is tremendous to work with. Jeff Morton is tremendous. Our county engineer is tremendous to work with. Our sanitary sewer, Tiffany Mack, Kelly, we do a great job. So I'm not going to, I can, but I certainly don't want to waste time addressing every finite point. But I will speak about 8-inch sewer. Yes, it's adequate. There's backflow prevention that is taken into consideration. I've never seen a lift station fail to a degree where it can't handle something because there's backup pumps and generators. That's part of code. A lot of these things, like backflow prevention, has been instituted as part of code because of lessons learned. Same thing with traffic management. We've got 2,000-3,000 more communities to be built and a lot of traffic impacts. I understand that. I live in this county. I've seen it grow exponentially over the last 37 years. We all see it. And everybody knows that live, 5 acres and have all the space in the world. That isn't, I guess, available to everybody. Not everybody wants to be in that same community or pay $15,000 or $20,000 a year in taxes. But these are all choices, right? So access from Creekside, density, infrastructure, public services, all those things are addressed. TIS is ongoing right now. As Mr. McCullough stated, none of this is going to be voted on until regional planning makes a recommendation. You cannot complete a traffic impact study if the school's out. That's part of it because we're not going to get back to accounts. So that's going as we speak, and school is back in session. It'll be finalized. So this is a very lengthy process. We're at the inception stages of it. And a lot of things that we've talked about with addressing the township, talked to the county engineer, talked to emergency services folks, we've adjusted just for that. I can tell you 100%, any kind of stormwater management will be better, not worse, because we're actually building structured water retention. I mean, this is engineered. This is what we pay our engineers a lot of money for. And by the way, the public services, as we get more communities throughout the county, some a lot higher density, some are tax abated. Somebody has to pay for emergency services. There needs to be revenue from income taxes, from property taxes, and all of that is part of the growth. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. So I want to say that I appreciate the comments. I do understand a lot of folks, a lot of passion. And, I love where I live. Do I want more housing, more traffic? Probably not, but the reality is it's gonna come. 42 is gonna get built out. 36 is gonna get built out. There's gonna be a bypass. 23 is a nightmare already. Well, we all live every day, right? It's just about how do we advance and how do we build it out. So it's not about money grab. We're just gonna put something down and run away. We have multiple communities in this area in Delaware County. We all like here, we live here. So it is important to us. It's important that we work with the county, with the township, with the commissioners and all of the staff. So again, I'm happy to answer more questions, whether it's in a public forum or a town hall session or any other zoning hearing, or township trustee hearing. I don't know if I've addressed everything. Are there any other questions from members of the commission?
I just have one question. Whether or not, did you connect with the community as you were developing this, putting this together, have a conversation about it? Or is this your first time?
This is our first time hearing the feedback, and so I think I even mentioned up to Robin before I walked in. There's a lot of folks here, so it's not outside, and we've done this many times, that we will hold a town hall because there's so many questions. So if that's something we want to have, we'll certainly, rent out a space, whether it's here or another public place. We'll post it, we'll announce it, and we'll have a back and forth discussion respectively. I think everybody's made a pretty good comment. There's nothing extraordinary about maybe some allergies about projects that have nothing to do with it. You know, that were built 20, 30 years ago, like, I'm taking a little exception to that, but other than that, happy to address everything that wants to be said.
I just encourage you to take into consideration comments, adjustments that you can take.
Duly noted, I appreciate that, yes, thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Yes, like,
I don't want to repeat it. All right, so we need to set the next date certain. Do you know when regional planning is meeting?
So regional planning will be holding their meeting later this week. So essentially the two zoning commission meetings are open in September. So part of that is, getting some feedback from the applicant,
Do you have a preference, was the 8th and the 22nd?
Yeah, so the 2 days are the 8th and the 22nd. We do ask if there are revisions to the plans, that those be submitted at least a week in advance so that we have time to distribute and review those. So applicant, knowing that, you think you can get updated plans to us Tuesday the 1st or Tuesday the 15th? Or
Tuesday the 1st, so RPC is Thursday, right? We'll have comments, right, 27th, so yes, we can have it to you by the 1st. Just complicated.
So then I think the recommendation would be to continue this hearing to the September 8th meeting date. If everyone who's in attendance, if you want to make sure that you sign in with your email address on the way out, we'll compile an email list and send out the new meeting date to everyone on that list. So you can all stay.
If folks want to leave their email address and want to circulate that, I'd be happy to set something up if there's a desire for a town hall or a different session. So we're welcome to that.
The expectation is for the voting to happen with all information available, right?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the commission, feels comfortable moving forward with the vote based on the information that you have at that time.
If you think you want more time, certainly push it to 22nd.
Oh, I just asked, do you think all the information will get that?
TIS is the only thing that's not going to be available. Here's the thing with the TIS, it's about a monetary contribution for what's already being done by the county engineer. It doesn't change anything. In other words, you have a signalized intersection after they're already there, right? That's not going to change. So whatever they tell us, they already told us that there's a turn lane that needs to happen at the entrance to this project, to this community. So it's more or less a monetary contribution based on percentage traffic. So it doesn't, it's not going to dictate whether 71 is going to do accident or not. That's a full contribution.
So maybe on that traffic.
Correct, but again, the traffic impact study is a monetary instrument of nature at this point in time. It's not going to say, oh, by the way, this is going to require X, Y, and Z to take place because of this. I mean, again, I can get that verification from Rob.
Does the commission come up with a vote?
Sure. Yeah, it's not something we are responsible.
Oh, Fire chief, by the way, the email we sent out is I got to drop off $100 payment. They've already reviewed it, so we just have to pick up the recommendation for that. So it's not stopped. They don't release it until the payment's made. We just got that today.
So it sounds like we'll have the major.
All we can make sure is that they have all the information available by the 8th. Everybody's good with that, so.
And I presume if that slips, will they be able to?
So if the commission sets the hearing for the time and date place certain on the 8th, then we do need to meet as a commission on the 8th.
Even if he's not ready. Yeah. Okay, so you're comfortable with the 8th? I just want to go with that again.
What is the latest that you know?
The first is when they need information.
Yeah.
So.
And if
You don't have enough information.
It's your project. If you say it's good, we'll be on the 8th, we'll go from there.
All right.
Move this. Well, we can have something to say.
Just, and based on his comments and what seems like common sense, does it make sense to push it 2 weeks from the 8th to ensure you've got every single piece of information you need.
That's what we've already declared. We have all everything we need by the 8th, and we do.
You do?
Yeah. We will.
That was the.
I mean, if we don't have the, results from the fire department or the Regional Planning Commission, Mr. Robin could take actions based on that, and he would propose a new dates. So we're not going to do anything until we get the.
We have to meet on the date, and we said we're gonna have a date, Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody's already assured us that we can have the information we need by the 8th. So we're going to act on that. Yes, could something happen to that out of the blue, of course, but always we're assured that we can have what we need by the 8th. So I move that we move this meeting to September 8th at 6:30.
I second.
Those voting, Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Bonjoli? We do have one more item of business on the agenda. So we have, some zoning code.
We're still in session.
So at their last regular meeting, last week, the Orange Township Board of Trustees initiated a zoning code amendment, a text amendment, to update some things, in the zoning code. Just some kind of cleanup items from, we did the major update, back in March. There were some things that staff identified as, kind of minor administrative items that we wanted to update or clarify. The trustees had some input on that as well, just based on things that they've seen in the last, 6 months of zoning. So we will go through the process again, for the zoning code amendments, the regional planning, zoning commission, you all, and then board of trustees ultimately. So hopefully it doesn't take as long as the last time we did code amendments. I imagine it would take 1, maybe 2 sessions with you all. We do need to set a date for that, so I would propose that we set the hearing date for that, for the September 22nd meeting.
That's all.
That's it.
And we set that meeting September 22nd at 6:30.
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yeah.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes. Thank you. Can I have a follow-up question with that?
Sure.
Will you be able to pre-send us out?
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of waiting until I sent you guys a lot of information already over the last week, so just wanted to get into this hearing, but I'll get those sent out. We'll get you hard copies as well.
And for the one that we just heard, those 3 wills, you send us out a new book, or should we take?
I would hold on to those for now. Most likely what they'll do, and I'll confirm with the applicant, but they'll submit kind of the plans that change, but most of the application will likely stay the same in terms of the number of pages.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.